Hello, hello, name's Anne, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today I got a bit of an odd build for you. This is a build of an archetype that I would generally not play. I prefer not playing these. I personally despise them, in fact. This is a fully Basic Arcana themed build, and as you might know, Basic Arcana themed builds, or focused builds, always have very low damage, because Basic Arcana just deal very, very low damage, and it takes a lot of Relics and Arcana, quite frankly, to make them good and viable and enhance them. They require a lot of patience for that reason, a lot of skillful plays, a lot of dodging, consistency. They are really consistent damage overall because they don't have a cooldown and you can essentially spam them, but you have to know what you're doing exactly. They don't deal high damage, they take a while to kill, so in that regard, this is pretty much the opposite of the playstyle that I would usually enjoy, which is a very aggressive, loose playstyle, a very signature charge based playstyle where I like to have damage spikes. I like to deal a large amount of damage over a short period of time, occasionally, preferably over dealing consistent damage all the time, but having a bit more of a boring run, as I would put it. So, let's get right into it. Today's build is called Go for the Eyes, which is a reference to two things. First of all, it's a reference to Go for the Throat, a Magic the Gathering card that I quite like a lot. But first and foremost, it is a reference to the animal kingdom, specifically cats and birds. In case you didn't know, if birds, for example, were to attack a human being or any mammal, as a matter of fact, they would usually go for the weak spots. They would try to locate the weak spots in their target and then just get rid of them. And to most mammals anyway, those weak spots are the eyes. So they would try to peck out the eyes and then peck away at their target. As long as the target is essentially disarmed, not being able to see the bird coming at them or the birds coming at them, they can exactly defend themselves very efficiently or well, or at all, in fact. So they would be able to freely kill their target however they wanted. And this is not exactly a bird-themed build, it's just a generally mammal with claws themed build, so think a tiger, a cat, or anything like that. And we're gonna try to viciously hit the weak spots, the weak points of our enemies, for a lot of crit hit damage and just slash them to death as viciously, as humanly or animally possible. And with that out of the way, I'd say let's get into the build. For our robe, we'll be going for the all robe for the aforementioned reason, as it increases our crit hit chance by 10% and our crit hit damage by 25%. This doesn't exactly grant you a consistent damage increase, as crit chance relies on getting lucky for the most part. However, we will see some spikes and we hit often enough so this becomes quite relevant, and it can still be upgraded for a lot of extra crit chance and damage. It is sweet. It scales very nicely with damage. Having a lot of damage, base damage increase that is fantastic, and combining that with crit chance is even greater. So you can either choose to start out having a lot of extra damage, using something like the Venture Robe, for example, or you go for the All Robe, which is a lot safer. It leaves you at 500 max HP instead of 300, and provides a lot of crit hit chance and damage, which is fantastic if you find good damage items in your run. This can also be combined very nicely with our starting relic, which is undebatably the offensive claws of Tomo, which, first of all, these are claws. These perfectly fit the sort of cat-themed build here, animal-wise, but also they fit the build in other ways, such as it enhances Basic Arcana and it increases the critical hit chance of our Basic Arcana by 5%, so we have a 15% crit hit chance, increased crit hit chance, that is, on our enhanced, Basic Arcana right off the get-go, which is fantastic. You love to see it. Now, our Basic Arcana hits quite a lot, as we will see in a minute here, so we get to proc this a lot. And also, our Basic Arcana has quite a terrible enhancement, so you wouldn't want to spend 100 gold on getting that. So also in that regard, Claws of Tomo is fantastic, as we won't have to buy it in the first place. Sweet, isn't it? Now, another advantage of this, or disadvantage sometimes is that the Arcana doesn't exactly count as enhanced. So it counts in a way that means that Iris won't sell you the enhancement anymore, if I'm not mistaken here. However, if you pick up that one cursed item which unenhances all Arcana, or I believe even a luxury bag, which gives you increased damage for each enhanced Arcana, but reduces your damage dealt for each unenhanced Arcana you are currently holding, this doesn't count as enhanced. So it doesn't get unenhanced, and it doesn't increase your damage, if I'm not mistaken here. I know for sure that it does not get unenhanced. I'm not sure about the luxury handbag here. So don't trust me on that. Take it with a grain of salt. Now let's get into Arcana. For our basic, we have the one and only logical choice here, the Severing Slash. Unleash a barrage of cutting winds can be charged for boosted effect. This is a charged melee movement basic Arcana with a great cleaving ability, so just control-wise it is fantastic. It has infinite piercing, it deals good damage, it's melee but with a rather high range, granting you very high mobility while using it. It deals okay damage, and it hits a lot of times, so crit-wise, this is fantastic. And also theme-wise, this is absolutely on par with everything else so far, as these are the vicious slashes, our main attack, our peck, our claws, that we are trying to hit our enemy weak spots with, and then eviscerate them, quite literally. Tear them apart, slash them to pieces, and then eat them up, or whatever the fuck we are supposed to do with them afterwards. And it looks like so. It consists of 3 hits, 1, 2, and then 3. The big hit from both claws, which is fantastic. The big hit is massively increased in size due to our Claws of Tomo enhancing this upgrade, because that is the only thing the upgrade really does for you. It increases the size of the final strike of this Arcana. Now, I would strongly recommend not tapping this, because it's just not very good, and it is a rather fast Arcana, so you can, and you should, pretty much always charge it. It's really not that big a deal. Now, the charge kind of propels you forward. It launches you at your foes, so it can be a little bit iffy to use at times. You might have to step back a little in order to hit it the optimal way possible. So in that regard, you might want to resort to the kind of mechanic, the kind of technique that most charged Arcana inherit, charged basic Arcana that is, where not only do they move you slightly, but you get a chance to redirect the final blow. If you cast it if you recast the direction, if you change the direction that you're facing in during the ability cast, like so. Now you can do this either after the first slash or after the second, which I consider a little more difficult. Yeah, right, I failed there. In order to just control the direction you're headed into. Maybe you went a little too far and now you can't cleave all the enemies anymore, and there's a risk that they will be hitting you, so you might want to cast it another way or cancel it altogether into a dash, for example, or a jump, or whatever else you got. So there's that. It's a very nice Arcana, and we hope to greatly enhance the damage of it, finding as many candies as we humanly can, or animally can, and finding as many other great damage increases and crit chance and damage increases as we can. I am really hoping for us to find a great amount of things here, such as the Assassin's Dagger, for example, which increases the damage that a crit hit deals, or the Monocle, the Dark Katana, other items that increase our crit chance. I am really hoping to see something like Evening Gloves that allows us to attack even faster with a basic Arcana, like candies, everything that can enhance this ability. And trust me, there are a lot of things that can do so. But we will get to that in a minute here. For our dash, we will be using the Razor Burst, pardon the stuttering there, which is an equally as vicious dash. It is just a little helper, it doesn't do great damage either, similarly to our basic. But I love the sound of this. It sounds vicious, it looks vicious, it feels vicious. It deals decent damage, it leaves behind this residual area of spinning, slashing, winds, I suppose, which drag in enemies. It's a little circle that you leave behind where you dashed, or where you dash to, I'm not sure actually. I think it is somewhat in the middle of where you dashed and where you're dashing to. Like so, yeah, exactly. Leaves behind this area of slashing winds, which drags in enemies, deals okay damage, and then slows them down. And the enhancement makes this vortex last a little longer, which is fantastic. Now you can use this aggressively or defensively, so if I want to use it like so here in order to initialize a fight, in order to deal damage, and essentially stunlock our enemies, I can do so. I can also use it in this corridor, for example, in order to zone enemies away from me, so they're essentially forced to walk through and get pulled in and slowed, allowing me to also set up another attack or recollect if I fucked up, if there's a large group of enemies, for example, approaching me, if I otherwise would have taken damage. I can use this in order to recollect, or maybe to regenerate HP, or escape from a room. There's just a lot of possibilities for usage here, a lot of versatility that you might want to use this for, and then of course it just looks so vicious. It sounds so good. It's like slash slash slash. It's like an extra basic Arcana combination, and that's sweet, and that fits the build very well, and so we are running with that. Then, for our standard, we got the only non-wind Arcana of this build, which is absolutely mandatory. It fits the build like a treat. This is Fueled Berserk. Enter a burning rage that speeds our basic Arcana and explodes when activated to burn foes in the area once enhanced. The explosion is a very minor upgrade. You might not want to get this at all. Again, all of your upgrades are very minor, so don't spend any money on those if you don't absolutely have too much money and nothing else to spend it on. So the explosion is quite irrelevant, except in the rare occurrence when there's an elemental chest that requires fire, as this is the only way to deal fire damage with this fire arcana. It doesn't increase your damage. Sorry, it doesn't essentially grant you fire damage on hit, for example, or deal fire damage on cast. So the enhancement makes you explode in a small area around your character, allowing for you to pop those elemental chests. Though it is a very, very bad enhancement. Really, don't spend 100 gold on this. It's just wasted for the most part. It's really not that important. 100 gold in this build specifically, which can use a shitload of items to increase the damage dealt and the consistency especially. You want to spend all of your gold on stuff like candies, which are items that stack. So if you can find a candy, always prefer that over an ability upgrade. These are really not that good. So what does Fueled Berserk do? How does it look in practice? Well, it essentially negates the cooldown between basic Arcana casts. So when I fully cast this, I can't recast it straight up again. This is a rather fast Arcana, so here I have a rather short cooldown in between these usages, but it is not instantaneous. And what it also does is, to charged Arcana, it essentially negates the charge, and it just sort of infinitely, very rapidly casts the base version of this ability. So this would be a single slash, anything before this charge bar over my hand appears, essentially. So these double slashes, or the single slashes left and right, it will infinitely cast and alternate between them, completely skipping the charged version. This is not very strong on most charged Arcana, including this one, though it fits the build because we just increase the violence. We kick it up all the way. We get very, very vicious and just go all in, all out on our enemies like so. Look at those crits. Isn't that awesome? It's fantastic. It's very fun to use. I guarantee you will have a blast playing with this. Pretty much whatever basic Arcana you choose, this is fantastic with. This goes with absolutely everything. So certain basic Arcana also have this kind of downside where you have to tap them in order to use them. Here we just hold X and we are completely good to go. It also allows for great maneuverability, as we command this with a very high mobility basic Arcana like so, so we can glide across the stage while also stun locking our foes, which is fantastic. But with other basic Arcana, such as the Bouncing Blaze for example, they have to be tapped in order to spam them. So yeah, rip to your fingers, I guess. You'd have to tap X constantly, And then also there's naturally, because you're a human being and you don't react instantaneously and you can't click that fast, there's a little bit of downtime in between casts, even though it's barely notable to you as a human being. But yeah, so this goes well with pretty much all basic Arcana, though with charged and tapped basic Arcana, this isn't amazing. It's still pretty good. It's still pretty darn good, and it allows us to just unleash our animosity, our bestiality, right? So that's what we're gonna be using it for. Don't upgrade it. Do not. And then finally, for our signature, we got the ability that I threw in for myself. I think this looks gorgeous. I think this works very well with the build from a combo perspective. From a thematic perspective, it doesn't work with the build at all. However, I really, really, really love this. It deals great damage, it's versatile, and combo-wise, it's just fantastic. It is Fading Petal. Now, this essentially casts wind. Where you want to land them is behind your enemies, towards your character module. So I'm facing towards the right now. It will cast them to the right of my character, approximately behind the target dummy here. And it will cast a projectile or multiple projectiles of wind that are shooting towards my character model. Model. My god, I can't talk today. What is it? Starting off very weak here. So it shoots a bunch of winds towards your character, preferably behind your foes, which will lob them towards you, allowing for you to combo, to follow that up with your basic Arcana or a dash, like so. Keeping them stun locked. It also slows foes, it deals very good damage, and yeah, overall it's just super fun to use. The projectile is also not instantaneous, not exactly anyway, so it doesn't just teleport enemies in front of you who then proceed to attack you straight up. No, instead it leaves you plenty of time to keep those enemies stun locked. It stun locks them in the first place, it slowly pushes them towards you, leaving you just enough time to start another basic Arcana cast and keep them in that stun lock, like so. Or if you prefer the very fast and rampant version, like so. It also comes with 2 charges, which is sweet. Love to see it. Allows for us to combo a lot more. Now we can also increase the charge on this and our dash, which allows for a lot more combinations. That's sweet, right? We love to see it. It deals good damage. And then finally, it has this signature ability, which is just an omnidirectional cast of the ability, which is fantastic. It drags in all enemies and then pushes them away, so it kind of reverses the ability, which is very good. It deals 100 damage, 50 per hit, hits twice. Fantastic. So with crit chance, this is very, very, very good. And there's a little bit of tech to this. Now, if you don't want your enemies to be scattered around the place randomly, which is usually terrible for this sort of build, which only has one real ability, which is our basic ability, this would not allow for us to cleave our enemies effectively. And we'd have to sort of backtrack and maybe dodge away from the fight just a little bit to make them group up again. And it doesn't work in all circumstances, especially when there are enemies that can't be moved, such as big beefy black guys or stone golems, for example. So you would push away all the small enemies and they would have to regroup, but there's the big guy who just can't move. So it will leave a lot of chaos and just it's very inconsistent. So what can you do to mitigate that? You can cancel this ability mid-cast, like so. So you let all the winds come and push all the enemies in or drag them in towards your character model, and then you just dash out of the signature charge ability to completely cancel the push, which leaves the enemies all grouped up to the direction that you dashed into, essentially, like so, right? To the opposite direction that you dashed into. Now, if you optimize this, the enemies will be clumped up entirely. If you are a little bit sloppy, they will still be scattered slightly. But this is usually what you want the outcome to be. And then you can just proceed to slash them to death. It deals very, very good damage. It's just a quick chunk for damage or a versatile moving combo sort of ability. It's just very, very nice to use. I don't think I'm forgetting anything here. So that's really about it all. It's a basic Arcana build, it doesn't have great combinations, it's not very complex to play. However, it is fairly low damage and therefore requires a lot of effort to win a run on, and I would hope that we can do so today. Let's get into the build specifics though. For the intended build playstyle, I want to have a rather aggressive playstyle, but I need to be passive at the beginning of rooms, sort of, so enemies can group up naturally, or we can group them up manually, and then proceed to slash them down. That's all that we want to do after all. It's gonna be quite a monotonous build playstyle. But if you enjoy that, if that's for you, then go ahead, try it out. It is certainly fun, it is certainly monotonous. I can say that much for sure. In terms of potential problems, the damage right at the get-go is terrible, so that's why we got a signature in order to focus on that a lot more as either a backup plan or just a secondary or even primary, in some cases, damaging ability. Now, the maneuverability can be a bit of a hindrance in that it's kind of difficult to control the Severing Slash sometimes. So, yeah, you will see what I mean in a minute here, but just let that rest, okay? Keep that in mind. Also, wind and fire are quite terrible for us, especially the wind dungeon. Yes, we hit many times, but with a basic Arcana, so something with evasion is going to get close to us, avoid the hit, or the first hit, and then not exactly get stunned, but attack us. If the wind knights, for example, are very, very fast, or we get slowed by a wind archer, or another wind ability from a wind mage, for example, my god, they can get so obnoxious. Fire isn't a great deal, because even though they are usually quite good against melee builds, the fire dungeon, that is, we still deal decent damage to them, we can still outrange them, decently control them. I would strongly recommend not overusing your signature against Fire Knights, for example, so you don't even risk them casting this Ignition Rush fire damagey aura shield around them while right up your face. That would cancel your abilities and burn you, so that'd be pretty bad. Instead, just use Severing Slash and, you know, just kill them. It's gonna take a while, you're not going to be dealing great damage to them. However, you are definitely going to find yourself being able to cope quite well with the fire element, with the dungeon, and with the boss as a whole. It's not going to be too difficult for you. Now, wind, on the other hand, completely different story. Even the boss is terrible for you. It slows you down, doesn't allow you to move around greatly and catch up back to it. For example, think of the ultimate offshoot, or just generally the tornado moves that slow you down. It's just quite a terrible fight for a melee-themed and basic Arcana themed and wind-themed build, so you do want to get rid of that 100% of the time. It is a terrible dungeon. I really hope, like, if you don't have the gems, for example, to do so, or you don't have access, I really hope for you that you won't see it at all. Just completely get rid of Wind Dungeon for the sake of playing this build. It sucks ass. In terms of recommended items in Arcana, finally, my favorite section, we got plenty. We got everything that enhances basic attacks, from candies to gloves to cursed items that just increase your base damage, double it, triple it, quadruple it, hell, quintuple it. We got stones, for example, because we are going to be in melee range quite a lot, at least early game. In the late game, I usually resort to not using my basic at all, because it's just terrible. It deals no damage, even in the greatest of build. In the greatest of build situations, or in the greatest of circumstances where you found all these very high damage number items, like Double Trouble, for example, or the Stylus, or many other items. Like if you just huge loads of damage, like an Adorable Mimic for 60% plus. No, the basic is still terrible. It still deals terrible damage. Even after all of that, it has terrible base damage, and even when increasing that, it's not fantastic. It's very clunky to use. So instead, usually late game, I will be using my signature a lot more to deal the damage for me. But early game, the entirety of early game, and probably mid game as well, we are going to use our basic a lot. That means Dungeon 1, Dungeon 2, and maybe at the start of Dungeon 3, we're going to be using this a lot. So for that reason, we can use stuff like stones, which profit from us being in the melee range of enemies, or defensive items that, when we are hit, proc an effect, such as the Vine Mail, for example, or the Brilliant Balloon. We can abuse those quite a lot, and it's quite fun to use them. It's also fun to use items that restore health on hitting crits, like the Vampire Eyeglasses. It's fun to use items that restore health after being hit, like all the Berserk items, like the Regenerative Blades. Oh yeah, Blades of Sympathy. Yeah. Symphony? Sympathy? I believe they're called Blades of Sympathy. So those kind of items are going to be quite helpful. You like also increased healing because you might be hit occasionally. You might like a lot of extra crit chance from stuff like the Mystic Monopole, like the Dark Katana, which works especially well for this build since it triples the crit chance of melee abilities, effectively granting you 100% crit chance on your basic Arcana, which already crits pretty much every time you use it. It is sweet. So crit chance, crit damage from an assassin's dagger, damage increases, stones, sprites, gloves are fantastic. Pretty much everything you find is gonna be useful, even defense to some extent, since you like to go into melee range, and that means you might take a bit of a beating sometimes against enemies like Zeal or Freya or Sora. So something even like a Memory Chainmail or a Bone Mail, calcified Bone Mail might come in handy. Kasim's Airy Cloak, Stygian Turtle Shell. There are just so many things that work for this build that it would probably be a lot shorter to just name all the items that I would exclude, that I would exclusively not pick when playing this build. So, with that out of the way, let's get into the run and try and have a good time and try not to stutter so much, because that seems to be an issue today, just as any, apparently. Sky Palace, sure. Let's lose the Wind Dungeon here. I really don't want to see that during a later stage of my run. We also get to see Freya. I love that. It's also great. Love those soccer cleats over there, which increase the damage that movement-themed Arcana deal, which works very, very well, because our basic, guess what? It's a mobility Arcana, so it's gonna work for that. I'm gonna try to bait them into the barrel here, like so, just to finish them off slightly faster. Now, with the big beefy black guys, you always want to sync them up if there are multiple of them, because they beat you down very, very quickly if you let them. Towards the end of our field Berserk there, I'm just going to use my dash in order to keep my enemy controlled. Okay. Is my sound cancelling out? I feel like the music is stopping there because there's too many sounds. I usually only get that very, very late into a run, when I can just hit an enemy for 1,000,000 damage with 1,000,000,000 different abilities, and the sounds start cancelling out, or the music rather starts cancelling out. Now, especially this early on, I will usually not cancel my signature ability, because why would I? It deals plenty of damage. It is most likely going to kill our enemies pretty much every single time we use it. I like the silver spinning top there. It would greatly increase our damage capabilities from our basic Arcana. However, I already stated that this is not exactly the late game plan to me personally, so I would prefer not to do that. Also, it would make us very slow, and I don't exactly have a lot of time here to beat the run. And mobility is definitely gonna be important in order to do so. So I would like to keep my mobility. Thank you very much, Nox. Not sure, I can't really remember any other items that were on there. Oh well, that didn't hit them. We get the Field Berserk upgrade right away. That's lovely. Okay, and the whole bunch of garbage items. Now, the Thesis on defense might be the only decent viable item in here. Definitely getting the wallet right away. I guess I will be getting a Thesis then. I'm also gonna get this, because it works decently well, I suppose, as a defensive tool. Now, Thesis already got 3% due to the Wallet of Vigor proc there, where we traded health to buy the item. Really have to play around the big black guy there in order not to be stun locked. Wanna head towards the center of the room, finish off as many enemies as possible here. Now, you don't want to position yourself super aggressively right up the face of your enemies. You want to stay slightly away from them in order to be able to connect all of your hits. Your double, slash, and 100% of both of those slashes. Because if you get too close, you might just miss one of them consistently when popping the Field Berserk, for example. Which should be strictly avoided, let's be fair. Now, there are no other good damage increases in here beside the Silver Spinning Top, which only really works in conjunction with Field Berserk, so it's not the greatest damage increase. I do like Golden Armor of Envy, though. That would mean we'd have to trade a lot more health with the wallet. Anchor is decent, but reduces move speed. I think that's fine as a first cursed item, and it's not that great of a movement speed reduction. It is certainly impactful, just not detrimental right away. Okay. I definitely do not want that, as it halves my crit chance. Anything else? Nope. Moving on then. We about evenly spread our damages there between basic Arcana and other ability damage. Waited until the last moment there in order to be able to dash out of the Ranger's ability. So I waited until the precise moment where they would be unable to change the direction or to adjust the direction of their ability in order for them to not be able to flexibly flick towards me there, so I could commit to the attack on the other Ranger. Definitely requires a little bit of experience, a little bit of having a, or developing a feeling for enemy ability timings, but once you nail it, that's a pretty great feeling. Hello, Taffy. Taffy means another Nox that is gone. Another opportunity to find a great damage up. But at least this early on, we can definitely deal enough damage to deal with the Taffy. Get the Razor Burst upgrade. I was gonna say Vortex Trap, but it's not Vortex Trap. You tricked me. It also deals pretty good damage, considering our crit chance. Now, without critting, it doesn't deal the greatest damage, but with a high crit chance, I am willing to use this offensively a whole lot more. Let them move up here, and then finish them off. Try to use our ability here, which we did, And we pull barrels into us. Just use the ball lightning there, whatever the hell they're called, the agents, in order to cancel the ability of a foe. So we can go back in and finish them off with our melee ability. Let's head down here. We are missing green. And there it is. You always gotta be wary that if you don't connect both hits, like right there, I could kill the majority of the black guys, but I couldn't kill the one that was like a little further down because I only connected with one hit per cast. So you only effectively took half the damage that all the other ones took, and while I could kill all the other ones, I didn't have the damage to kill that one. Always gotta keep that in mind. We have a lot of defensive tools here, none of which are really all that important. I could grab the key. What is it called? The ruby key? Is it a no, it's not a ruby key. What is a purple gem called? I don't even know. I can't even remember the name, to be honest. No, ruby would obviously be red. I'd have to look that up. Is this the basic? Yes, it is. We do not want to exchange our basic. Thank you very much. Let me check. What's it called? Amethyst. Right. I totally forgot. Okay. I don't think we have anything else on this floor. No business on this floor, so let's just swiftly move on. Always want to get rid of the rogue here. As the archer does summon new archers, but no new rogues, and rogues are just a lot more annoying than archers, generally. Since you can trick archers very easily with that little trick that we performed earlier. But rogues you can't exactly trick, they teleport around the place, they are quite unpredictable sometimes, and they also like to kill your summons very quickly, so they also attack very quickly, the fastest of all enemies, so you can't exactly counterplay them as easily. And once you fuck up into rogue, there is usually no comeback. Unlike someone like rangers, for example, or knights. Bye-bye. Still got pretty damn good damage there, but I have a bunch of pretty good items. Considering that I've only played 2 floors so far. That's a lot of pretty good items. Soccer cleats specifically I like a lot because, my god, those are very nice for this build. 15% increased damage on my basic. Doesn't work for our signature because it's not a movement ability, but on our basic and Razor Burst, this is fantastic. You love to see it. Now we got Conqueror's Belt, so all rogues and archers will have no abilities, just the base abilities, which is fantastic. You love to see it. I'm not sure which one of those is my favorite. Probably the one that disables summoners from summoning, because my god, do they suck ass to fight. This is reduced cooldown on all movement abilities, which is desirable to a certain extent. It allows for us to dash a lot more often. I hate diagonal dashes, I said it before and I will say it time and time again. Doing diagonal dashes on a controller, I am way too incompetent to do consistently. I always fuck them up because I play on a control pad. I don't like joysticks, personally. I'm really not that good with joysticks. I'm a PC person. I didn't grow up with joysticks, so naturally I'm not very good at using them. I find them to be very inaccurate and very terribly calculated sometimes. Like, have you ever had a controller that the joystick just wasn't accurate at all? Like you would... In Wizard of Legend, for example, my controllers, I just walk straight upwards. And it always moves a lot towards one side, whether it be right or left. Depends on the controller. I have multiple controllers, and all of them do that. So I hate using joysticks. Bone mail is great. We love to see it. Elemental point A works very nicely for our build, since we pretty much run all wind at this point, and it significantly reduces the cooldown on our signature, even though I don't feel like we exactly need that. Swiftly use the opportunity there to kill one of the rogues. Sorry, one of the archers is what I meant to say. Use the double there to make sure that they would fall into the pit. I hate these mofos. Of all summoners, Earth summoners are easily the worst because of the summon that just storms this massive area and... Oops. Stun logs the player for days. Oh my god. You guys. Now keep in mind that this elite rogue, or the elemental rogue there, is basically just a normal rogue, considering that they lose all abilities with the Conqueror's build, I believe it's called. So we can pretty much ignore them and just kill the enemy with much lower HP, because they essentially have the same moveset at that point, right? And that means the elite just has a higher health pool and deals more damage. So as long as we avoid them and kill the lower damage, lower HP enemy very fast, we shouldn't be in any trouble. Hello, Dr. Song. I would love to trade something. Let me see. Wow, that's really cheap. 25. Holy shit. And the next best is 175. That is quite sucky. I think I'll do it though. Catalytic tonic. That's sweet. That's a lot of extra heals. A lot of extra critical healing. So now we don't only have critical strange. Oh, I can't talk right now. We don't only have critical damage, but also critical healing, which is sweet. I like to personally chunk in my signatures in between basics. So if I spam my basic, I just like to do this sort of thing. I feel like that it isn't exactly the greatest way to maximize damage output, I don't think, but it feels very nice and swift, most importantly. Hello, Crimea. I should definitely be having something to sell to you, like the Conqueror's build at the end of the stage. Maybe even the Prismatic Vambrace, because I haven't been hit all that much, so it doesn't exactly do much for me. Same for the Thesis, honestly. Only 6% so far, because I haven't exactly been hit a lot. Jumper cables are definitely not very useful. We don't need cooldown reduction on our dash. It is not worth the slot that this item is holding up. We would be much better off. Oh my fucking god. We would be much better off with something like a double trouble, for example. Just let them have some fun. And then stun lock them with our dash, with our perfectly placed dash, which is not that easy on this dash, trust me. It is easy to miss this thing. And then we finish them off. Thank God we are of the wind element. And you're just earth. Which is, in my opinion, the hardest dungeon. Probably. Not sure, actually. But I feel like it is pretty hard. It reflects projectiles, it poisons you for a long period of time. The traps really, really suck for that reason as well. See, what else is there? Atlas isn't exactly difficult, but we're not talking about the boss, we're talking about the dungeon here. Who else do we have? The Root sucks a lot too, right? That can be an instant death on your part. The sort of ice block that the other knights can do. Really, the entire other knight moveset is an issue. The enemies don't have the greatest range. I can't, for the love of God, remember right now what the rogues do. But one thing I know for sure, they are up to no good. Of course, the summoners. I forgot the summoners. Easily the worst enemy on this floor. My god, do I hate them. Just the Earth Stomp agent that they can summon. It's such a nuisance to a player. Even in multiplayer, those things are nasty, dude. Though, it's a lot easier to deal with them in multiplayer since two people can deal with it. One player can deal with the agent, for example, and the other one can deal with the summoner. As you kind of have to focus on the agent. Because otherwise it just tears you apart. Stomps into the ground, rather. This thing is so strong. I also love using it equally as much as I hate it being used against me, honestly. Got stunned there for a second by the Black Guy's artillery attack. We get a little bit of a damage up. Our first technical good damage up here beside those soccer cleats, which is just for our basic. And the anchor, which has a large potential to slow us down drastically. We get Jade's Jewel Tiara. And Relic Rewards card, which should come in handy a lot. We can trade healthy again, which is a great opportunity to slightly stack the thesis. I will gladly take that opportunity. We can't really take any of these. These are not super strong or useful. And then, do we want to sell something here? I think we're gonna sell the Conquerors after beating this. Now, unfortunately, this is not the Ranger, so we don't exactly get a benefit from keeping the Conquerors at this point in time. Oh my god, I hate those things. Get away from me. Ooh, that's for Kremire. Sweet. Let's get rid of the Bowman for now. And then bring this to Kremire. This... Should I have talked to him? Or was that not for Kremire? I don't even know. I didn't read it. Not sure whether that was the Kremire token or not. It looked like it to me. It was just a bag full of loot, right? Is the money still flying to me? Yes, it was. Okay, 252. That's a lot of cash. And we have reduced costs on our relics. So, if we find a supply crate, we're gonna be golden. We're gonna be able to sort of look for what we really want, which is candies and high damage and stones. I want stones. Love that wind chime sound that my RB makes. What is it called? Max Stunner? Yeah. Seismic. Nope, never mind. Fadeaway rhythm. It's a bit of a... What is it? A jump? Is it a dash? I don't even recall, but it's not a very great ability. I can remember that much. No thanks. I would not like to be frozen here. In these situations where you can't really see how many enemies there might be and where they might are, I strongly recommend you default to spamming as many basic Arcana as you can. Whoops, as you can. Oh my god, would you stop interrupting me? And not only do that, but also try to land them. Just take a step back, recollect, and then attack. Or you could also alternatively just chicken out and come back when you have clear vision on where your enemies are. That works too. I don't like doing that though. We get a stone, sweet, and a Helm of Midas, which is also pretty neat, and a heavy travel jacket, which is also fantastic. Probably want to buy this, and then get rid of the cart here. Way to go! Okay. Come on, give me a good Nox, please. Oh, you sly bastard. Somehow dashing around that stunner there. And it's a dead end. Of course. Always gone the wrong way, huh? Ain't that Murphy's Law? What a long way we gotta go as well. There's no teleporter in sight. Nothing even remotely in range. And it's a Robe upgrade. That's sweet. That's a lot of extra damage. I like taking that. Now also, we could take advantage of our crit heal chance using the Catalytic Tonic and a healing pot. Now is a good a time as ever, right? I think I want to keep the... what's it called? I'll look it up after this. I can't think of it right now. Ooh, that's a lot of thesis stacks. Thanks to the bone mail, that's also a lot of stacks. Yep, bone mail is really strong into this guy. And we find that again. I think I want to keep the wallet over the Arcana rewards card because it allows for me to buy more, technically, and there's a lot of healing. There's an abundance of healing on the Sura floor, so probably want to do that. Probably also want to use the healing part here, and then move on. Yeah, let's do that. Plenty of spell damage, as spell damage just scales much, much better compared to basic Arcana damage. It's also a lot more applicable. Basic Arcana always have a very short range. Even the longest range ones like Chaos Crusher or Bouncing Blaze are quite terrible for dealing damage consistently. The control we have is pretty damn good. Oh, I love slowing enemies. It is so damn useful against these super fast enemies. Essentially takes them down another floor level in terms of speed. And you can really feel that. Of course. Again, we are so cursed with the Iris Curse. We always find the most useless merchant first. I am on quite a tight schedule here, so I would appreciate being able to come to a close here as soon as possible. That doesn't mean I'm just gonna rush through, but I'd love to end this quickly. Okay. Now we're talking. We got some decent stuff. We got Golden Saber for good damage, Jeremiah's for a lot of crit hit damage, which is not super worth it because we don't deal great crit damage, and it drastically reduces our crit hit chance, which I don't think we can really afford just having an Robe in terms of crit increases. This is 20% on my signature. This lowers your crit chance by what, 25%, so this is pretty much never worth it unless you have a lot of crit chance, an absolute abundance of it. And then finally we've got Glove of Patience, increase basic Arcana damage and reduce the charge time for any basic Arcana with a charged final attack, which is nice. Increase cooldowns for all Arcana. I don't think we are effectively worried about cooldowns here at all, since we just want to charge our signature anyway, and that doesn't exactly have a cooldown. Let me out! I am really not... come on. I still need my shop again, because I always find Iris first. I am really not getting lucky here with the floor generation. Or rather, the pass that I did choose. Oh my god, dude. I just combined the words choose and decide because I'm under great distress. My god, you guys. Not cool. Stop that. And where did my agents go just there? Why would you back off? What was that kind of scam? This seems like the right way to go. And it is. Okay, don't take damage from critical hits. Other than that, I don't really see anything interesting in here. I see a Sprite, but it's a little late for that, isn't it? Not sure, actually. I like the Catalytic still, but it might come in handy. Maybe we can toss the wallet too. Grab a Sprite. And then probably want to get the glove or the saber, we'll see in a second here. And then I probably want to get rid of the tonic. Yeah, there's really no other way to fight him other than using your signature there. It's a little unfortunate, but you kind of have to. So let's grab the saber, I'd say. Oh, glove. It's gonna be glove. We might not be able to bring this home, but it's gonna be glove. No, there's not really anything else that I can get rid of. The tonic could absolutely keep me alive here, but we'll see. I'm going in on a rather mid HP pool here, which I'm not too comfortable with, since I suck at using basic Arcana. Oh shit. That was a little too early. Oh my. That was still quite a fast kill. Ice Dagger would be a fantastic pickup, but we are not allowed, or rather we are not allowing ourselves to swap our Arcana here. Because that'd be boring. Ice Dagger is insane with Fuel Berserk. The Curse Eater's Vest, I believe it's called. It's not too helpful here, we only have 2 cursed items. Wow, didn't even take damage there. Sweet. We'll play. Yeah, Curse Eaters is not super useful. Find another Sprite, which I'd love to see. And I think that's about it, honestly. Let's look at the healing here. Okay, we are pretty much full. We could grab a Midas item, though it's only a marginal damage increase. So instead, let's just grab the potion and say go. A lot of stuttering today, but this time it's fine, honestly. Fine by me, because I am on a very tight schedule now. I have about 10 minutes after this. Woo, yeah, that was quite close. Okay, Sarah, time to bring it on. Oh my god, look at that cooldown on my agents. That's ridiculous. What was that, 20 seconds? Oh. Keep that Fuel Berserk up. Perfect. This is the time to strike. Bye-bye, Sora. And then we get another full charge from the Tiara. Sweet. Oh my god. It just struck me. I totally forgot doing this today. Always gotta do that with head items. Always gotta boop them. Bump them on your head and back into the air. We did it. It was a little bit of a struggle. I would have loved seeing more stones, would have loved seeing more sprites, and overall more good stackable stuff. But at the end of the day, we got a pretty average looking, pretty decent build here with a lot of defense. Just look at these. 20% on the prismatic, thank God, due to being hit. Presumably during the Freya fight, I would guess, but also during the Sura fight, I probably get like up to 16% during the Freya fight, and then maybe the rest from Sora. So still very good damage reduction, especially when stacked with Calcifying Bowman, which is insane in and of itself. Thesis is just very, very good in terms of extra defense, and so is Heavy Travel Jacket, so these gave me a massive, massive boost in defense, essentially not allowing for us to die, or even be scratched just a little bit. Then the sprites and the stones, and the only cannon we found, unfortunately. I would have loved finding a lot more of these. These were very nice damage ups, sort of. And then Glove of Patience is just fantastic for this build overall. It increases our basic Arcana damage massively, which is fantastic. Cooldown increase doesn't exactly affect us at all because we just want to generate signature and then fire off a signature. It's also a charged ability, so we don't care much for the increased cooldown on it at all, in fact. Soccer Clays is fantastic. We got a lot of basic attack enhancements here. Would have loved finding even more so. Anchor is a great pickup because we didn't get too many cursed items, only 2 in fact, so this isn't a great penalty to your movement speed. You always want to keep that in mind. Don't ruin your movement speed. Don't just do that, especially at the beginning of a run. If you don't know that it's going to be a safe run, that you're going to have a billion damage in that run, and it's absolutely worth it picking that silver spinning top, don't do it. As you might be able to tell, this was not exactly the kind of run where I would end up with a lot of damage. In fact, the maximum amount of damage I could have probably achieved would have been from picking up Anchor of Burden and the Golden Saber, so not even a silver spinning tub in the first place. And that wouldn't have been exactly great damage. I would have probably just died on the fight. Now, considering that I had all this armor, that might have not been the case in this particular case. Though generally you always want to build around, well, how squishy am I gonna be, and am I gonna need the movement speed? If the answer is, if the situation is you're gonna be very squishy, don't reduce your movement speed. Don't do it unless you get a very nice trade-off, like a large amount of cooldown reduction with a jump, for example, that leaves you invulnerable, or a lot of dashes from the boots of whatever the hell they're called, for example, right? So Anchor, bit of a risky pickup. Definitely wouldn't have picked more than, say, 3 cursed items over the course of the run, but I only found 2 in the first place total, so that's not too bad of a punishment. I really, really love the Bone Mail in this build. It was just a treat. Very, very helpful. And then combining that with the other defense items absolutely made this run trivial at the end of the day. Even though just look at my HP, oh man. 437 on the Sura fight. Even though I took quite a beating from Freya there due to fucking up multiple times, it's not exactly super bad. I didn't have double trouble, and just having a lot of armor keeps you alive for days and days and days. Oof, that was quite a fun run. I hope you could enjoy it too. I really like this build a lot. It is quite fun to play. It is a bit of a mid build, like damage-wise it's not super high up there. Even versatility wise, it's not super strong, it's not my absolute favorite, but it is quite fun. It was fun assembling this and then playing it over the course of like 2 weeks. It took me forever to learn this build. I played this in Boss Rush over and over and over again until I got it right, and then, yeah, I played it here, and yeah, what can I say? It is fun. Definitely not my playstyle, definitely something entirely different, but that's what I was in to explore here anyway. Thank you very much, dear viewer, for watching this video, and until next time, you know how it is. Wherever you are, I wish you all a good morning, a good day, or a good night, and I'ma say, peace out, bye bye.